Here we're given a rational function f of x equals x over x squared plus minus 4, and we're asked to find the vertical and horizontal asymptotes for this function. Let's start with the vertical asymptotes. We need to figure out what the zeros of the denominator are, so go ahead and factor the denominator and then figure out that the zeros are going to be positive 2 and negative 2. So we're going to consider the limit as x approaches the first zero, 2, from the left and from the right, and see what we get. So first of all, the limit as x approaches 2 from the positive side of the function is equal to 2 with a little plus, so a slightly larger than 2 over slightly larger than 4 times slightly larger than 0. It gives you a positive number over a slightly positive 0, which gives you a positive infinity, while the limit as x approaches 2 from the negative side gives you a number slightly smaller than 2 times a number slightly smaller than 4 times a 0 slightly smaller than 0, which is a positive over 0 slightly negative, which is negative infinity. Okay, so that limit from the positive side, it takes you to positive infinity, so it goes up, and from the other side, the negative side, it goes down towards negative infinity. So we see this kind of function occurring at the value x equals 2. Now consider the other root of the denominator, negative 2. First consider the limit as x approaches negative 2 from the right. We get a number slightly larger than negative 2 over a slightly larger than 0 number over a number slightly larger than negative 4. That's a negative number over a slightly larger than 0 on the positive side, and a negative gives you a positive infinity. And similarly, for x approaching negative 2 from the negative side, we get a negative over a slightly negative 0 times a negative gives us a negative infinity. So let's see what that picture is going to look like near the 0, x equals negative 2. Approaching from the left, we go towards negative infinity. Approaching from the right, we go to positive infinity. So we see this sort of opposite action occurring at the vertical asymptotes. Thus we have the vertical asymptotes at x equals 2 and x equals negative 2. Okay, continuing here with what we saw in note 90, the horizontal asymptotes. For that, we just take the limit as x approaches positive and negative infinity of the function. Now we'll have to make an adjustment on this function. We want to avoid infinity over infinity, so we'll divide the top and the bottom by the highest power of x in the function, x squared. We get the limit of 1 over x over 1 minus 4 over x squared, and that gives us a number slightly larger than 0 over 1 minus a number slightly larger than 0. Okay, 0 in the numerator, that's all I have to hear. The answer is 0. The limit as x approaches negative infinity of the function. This time we are going to divide the top and the bottom by, well, the same thing, 1 over x squared times the top, 1 over x squared times the bottom. And when we take the limit, we get 0 over 1. Well, we get a 0 on the negative side over 1 minus 0 on the positive side. The issue is we get 0 over a number other than 0, and that answer gives us a positive 0. Well, a 0. 0 is positive and negative. Thus, we have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. So go back and read note 90 and see where these things came from.